Hey, it's my favorite student. You. Wow, this is great. Well, I'm glad we get this one-on-one time to continue your career in real estate investing. You found the towns or the areas or the neighborhoods that you want to invest in. What do we do next? Well, it just keeps getting more fun, this treasure hunt. So let's dig in and show you so I can show you. Here we are, season one investing once again. House money makers back of the envelope sizing. That's what we're doing. House money. Let's make some money and let's do some back of the envelope sizing. And this is going to be important. This is an exercise. I'm going to provide you with a calculator. I'm going to walk you through just how to size up a property so that you know whether you want to spend more time looking at it. And that's sort of this game. It's a numbers game. And so the quicker that you can kind of flow through properties, it's going to be better because you don't want to just drag yourself down looking at, searching the tax here and the insurance here when you could just say, oh, this is for me, or you know what, I'll look at it if it's within this price range, and it'll just sort of speed up the process for you. And this is exactly what I do when I look at properties or new areas or look at towns. And this is just sort of a way to sort of create more of a filter so that you can focus your time on what's important and to recognize a good deal in a split second. So it starts in a calculator, but you're going to learn how to do this in your head quickly as long as you stay within the same town and the same product type. So let's say you've got your top three locations here, and I want to teach you how to compare the rental price to the purchase price. This is a simple fraction. It's just taking the rental price and dividing it by the purchase price. That percentage is going to speak volumes for you and really, really kind of explain what makes a good deal or what this town, what that's happening in this town. So I'm going to walk you through that. And also we're going to learn the difference between appreciation investing and cash flow investing. You're going to have to make this choice. It's a spectrum, okay? Because everyone wants both. Everyone wants a ton of cash flow and they want it to appreciate and go way up in value. Those things don't really exist. If they exist, it happens accidentally. So you kind of have to be on the spectrum. Do I want to be in a city where it doesn't cash flow very much, but I have that opportunity where I buy a property for $500,000, it's going to turn into $1 million in 5 years just because I'm buying into a huge growing city and it's very popular. That's appreciation investing. It's very speculative because you're not really controlling that unless you're fixing up the property, putting some sweat equity in. But it's also a safe investment because it's in a desirable area. You got to pay a premium for it, and that premium eats up all the cash flow. Or you can do cash flow investing, which is the exact other side of the spectrum, where maybe you buy a property that's $300,000, but you know for sure it's always going to be rented out. You're always going to make $400 a month in rental income on it. But when you go to sell, it's not going to be a $600,000 property. It'll probably be a $325,000 property or a $350,000 property because it's not in a vastly appreciation area or market, but you got that steady cash flow income, which is my bread and butter. I like that. That also works for the house fire method as well. I just want that cash flow, and maybe I get lucky. Like that's happened to me. I always buy for cash flow, and it does appreciate. It doubles and triples in value. But that's not the reason I bought it. It just happened. I got an imaginary lottery ticket. So when we look at these deals and we're sizing up towns, you're going to know quickly that this area or this part of investing seems to be appreciation investing because I can't make the numbers work. The cash flow is not very sexy. But some other areas, if the cash flow is really, really sexy, just know the trade-off is usually you're probably not in a highly appreciating area. So we're going to dig into that a little bit. Also, we're going to find let's understand more money is made with more headaches. Okay, this is like everything. You can buy a mutual fund in a REIT, real estate investment trust. You're not doing any work, but you're going to make 2%, 3% of your money because you've outsourced everything and it's so easy, right? Or you can buy in a high crime area that's got a lot of tenant turnover and there's a lot of issues and the house has a lot of problems. Well, that's a lot of headaches, but you're going to make way more money dealing with those headaches because other people don't. And the price of the house reflects that. You're getting at a really, really cheap house, but you got to deal with a lot of headaches, right? So there's no wrong answers here, guys. Just understand the difference. And when we start looking at properties, you're going to start predicting, oh, this must be an appreciation area or really nice school district. Why are the numbers telling me that there's not a whole lot of cash flow here? Or if the cash flow is just ridiculous, you're like, okay, this is probably going to have some headaches. I got to roll up my sleeves on here, or I've got to budget for a property manager to deal with these headaches. But that's what we're going to learn here. Just that there's a spectrum here with investing. No wrong answers. It's whatever your own appetite is. Just know there's more money in the stuff that sounds not fun, right? And there's going to be less money in the stuff that sounds easier. So we're going to have to find where you are on your comfort level, on your spectrum with real estate investing. So let's get to it. Now that we have these parameters, we've got your top 3 locations. I'm going to narrow in on Shreveport. I was looking at Shreveport. I was looking at Alexandria. I sort of like the extra universities that are in Shreveport. So I want to learn more about what the properties are there. I like the larger population. I love that it's sort of close to Dallas. If I really want to, take I-20 and go to Dallas, 4 hours away. There's a lot that I sort of like, the balance of the jobs in Shreveport. So I want to learn more about it. What are the house prices there? And, I'm going to go off that same random budget of $130,000. So let's look at houses and see what, if I were to buy something, how I would go about it. All right, so we're back at Zillow looking at Shreveport here, and I want to zoom in because I got to tell you, when I first look at this, this is what goes through my mind. I know from my years of real estate experience that there's borders here, and there's different identities between all the borders, and the borders can be natural, like this river here. It could be this lake, the properties and the tenants and the price points. North of a lake is going to be different than south of the lake. And then these man-made borders of interstates are always, train tracks. Like you've got the good side and the bad side of the train tracks, right? Not that there's good or bad, but there's going to be different price points. I'm looking here, 28,000 in this little section here. But over to the left, we got some 70 and 65. 85. So this gets a little bit nicer. This section here near the river, this gets into 100,000 properties, right? 39,000, 49,000. And then it's probably a little bit nicer area over here, 117, 125. And I know that these borders are telling me that all these areas have their own identity. Doesn't mean you can't make money in all these. You can. But if I'm looking at properties over here, which seems to be the nicest part for a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, and I'm comparing it to a 2-bedroom, 1-bath for $20K here, well, that's not teaching me anything because they're so different. So that's how. So I would take this and say, okay, I figured out Shreveport, but let me figure out what areas within Shreveport that I want to invest in. And my instinct is not here. There's only 2 properties for sale here, and I don't have enough data right now to learn. Here is sort of catching my eye. I kind of like this area, right? These are all under 130. There's a variety of homes. You got a park here. Your downtown riverfront just sounds nice to me. 2 different interstates you can jump on. This is sort of telling me this is where I would maybe want to invest my money. So let me zoom in here and just look at these properties here a little bit more, just so that I'm not distracted by things that aren't in this area. And what I'm looking at here is 125, and this is 60. Let's look at this property. Can I add $30,000 here to make a $125,000 property, right? That's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath for 60, and this is a 2-1. So there's some great data that I'm seeing here just by zooming in and finding something that has borders. In this case, it's the interstates here and the major streets here. I'm assuming this is going to have its own identity, especially close to Highland Park here, which I know nothing about. That's the most expensive home is next to Highland Park. So that tells me it's probably desirable. There's probably some decent restaurants and things around there. So with this information, let's start looking at, I don't want to go for the highest properties. I'm going to start looking at sort of the mid tier here, the 45, 60s. We got 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 4-bedroom, 1-bath, 2-1, 2-1, 3-1. This is a 2-1, 3-1. Okay. So what I want to do is let's just focus on the 2-1s right now. There's no rhyme or reason for that. I just see there's more 2-1s. I can get more data. I can learn quicker if I focus in on 2 bedrooms, 1 baths. I have friends who only invest in 2 bedrooms, 1 bath because they like that they only have to worry about 1 bathroom. They only have to fix 1 bathroom. They never have to renovate 2 bathrooms. And if I am creating and investing in a community that's going to have roommates, 2 bedrooms, always great because it's always easy to find one person to be your roommate. You're on the same schedule at class, or you have one friend in town. But to get 2 people, like a 3 bedroom, it's difficult to get 3 people to schedule who all wants to find a rental at the exact same time. And I found that 3 bedrooms are great for families, and they really appreciate that second bathroom. Families are going to stay long, but when you've got 3 roommates, 2 of them always team up on one. It just always happens. It always falls apart that, oh, this person's using, too much of the driveway or toilet paper or whatever. They always side. 2 of them join up on one, and one of them always wants to end their lease early. So you can make it work. Just understand, are you going to rent to a family or to roommates? In this case, I see there's a lot of 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. And also my budget's $130. I can maybe buy 2 properties here. So let me focus on that. I will first start with this 2 bedroom here. Let's have a look. I want to look at the condition. Amazing investment opportunity. One side is rented for $500. The other side is vacant and ready to rent. Oh, so this is actually a duplex. Interesting. This is a duplex here. Let's look at the condition. It's livable, move-in ready. I don't see any immediate fixes. This is great. At this price point, this is a decent sized yard. Sure, she could use some power washing, but I don't see it as unsafe. And if one side's rented, that's great. So $500 per month already. 2 bedroom, 1 bath, $86,000. All right, let's look at some of these other things. I'm going to change mine to only multifamilies to kind of keep this. Do we have a whole lot of multifamilies to look at? Yeah. Okay, great. Let's only look at these multifamilies. All right, so this one's $86,000. So this is what I'll start doing. I'm just going to add this to my spreadsheet here. I've got the house money maker, back of the envelope analyzer, right? Potential investment property. So I just start plugging this in. This is the address here, and it's 1346 square feet. And the list price, 86. It's 2 units, and it looks like each unit is 2 bedroom, 1 bath. Okay. I could put a link here, maybe some notes. All right, now let's go back to the other multifamilies here, just so we're comparing them. This one is $99,000. Okay. It's also a duplex. Interest starting out, do not disturb tenants. Okay, great. 79 days on Zillow, 99,000. I'm going to assume both sides are 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. For now, 1,280 square feet. Looks like a similar shaped property. That just tells me like each unit's probably 600 square feet. Okay. And I want to find some more properties for sale in this neighborhood. This is for me. Okay. Another 99,000. Let's look at the photos here. This looks like in much nicer condition than the other one that was 86,000. So I would expect that. This looks like a, $10,000 upgrade. 1750, I'd also expect both sides to be 2-1. Obviously, I would want to fact check a little bit more, but not now. That comes later. I'll show you when. But we didn't get to see the condition of this one for 99,000. Oh, there's not many photos. That's why. The 60,000 one we haven't looked at. Duplex, great investment opportunity in the heart of Shreveport, close to LSU Med, shopping and dining. Little TLC could go a long way. Nice spacious units. Okay. I'm going to assume that this reason it's 4 bedrooms is each side's a 2 bedroom, 1 bath. That seems to be the product here. Let's look at the photos here. Not as bad. Okay, the kitchen probably needs some love. Yeah, definitely needs some love. New paint. You can probably restain those floors. Purple. Well, that's LSU colors, I guess. Bathroom's not bad. Needs a sink, obviously. Okay. So I think it's price, just my gut instincts, price right. I like that this one's brick. That's a little bit hardier, right? You don't have to ever replace siding if it's brick. It saves you some money there. But $59,900 for this one. And we're going to assume both is a 2-1, like the other ones we've seen. Based on the square footage, that sounds right. 1376. So maybe this is smaller. So it may be a 1-1 on each side here. But we'll have to do some digging. Dritto. So here we go. Well, we got some properties there for sale, right? And what do we do with this? Well, I'm sizing it up. The duplexes for under $100,000. Everyone loves to say there's no such thing as homes under $100,000. We just found 4, and they're not just homes; they're duplexes, and they're livable. I'll accept this one that's not livable, right? Okay, so now that we've sort of found 4 properties, I mean, ideally, I'd like to find 5 or more to really get the data home. no more than 10. I wouldn't spend too much time doing 10, putting every single property. Just kind of pick your top 5 here if you can. There's only 4 in this little section here, which I think is, maybe I can go across these. I just have a hunch that this is a different product type, just different category, just because it's on the other side of the interstate. And that's my lack of knowledge, but this is the best I'm going to get is these 4 right now. It does say 7 results here. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, those are outside my wheelhouse here. Okay, I'm going to stick with that. Now, what do we do is I want to know what I can rent these for. We know that one of them says they can rent for $500, right? Renovated Turplex in Highland, front unit is occupied at $625. So let's add this in here, $99,900. Was recently vacated. Tenant was paying $550. Single water meter. Okay, it's paid back to the owner. Okay, so I'm going to add these up. $1,175 for the Wilkinson. $1,175. Great. We knew that this one is 500 Boulevard. Let's just assume both of them can be 500. It's 1,000. 843 College. Did it give us any information here? There's tenants in place, so we could obviously make a call to the tenants, but I'm going to show you what to do if we don't know what it's paying for or if it's vacant. That's great. So we'll go down here. Now we need rental comps. So we're already in Zillow. We've already zoomed in. All we got to do is switch this from for sale for rent. Everything that we're looking at is 2 bedrooms. So let's just say 2 bedrooms, apply. 2 bedrooms. Okay, great. So a 2 bedroom, let's look at the quality here, 545. Looks livable, nice clean kitchen, definitely small, 600 square feet, but that's what we're doing. So yeah, we're gonna say this, 2 bedroom, 1 bath is 600 square feet. And they're asking 545. And I'll save this for future reference. And let's find another rental here. And again, I would like to find more data, but the fact that some of the houses that we're looking at are for sale, that gives us some data. Well, okay, this one is looks pretty rough. There's some boarded up areas. So maybe this looks like maybe it's a quad, but on the other side, or upstairs is renovated, right? Probably each 2-1 each. The fact that this is the only photos. Anyway, interesting. 625 for a 2 bedroom, 1 bath, 865. All right. A little bit bigger, but that seems like I don't know if I'd want to live there for 625, but it is what it is. Okay, what else can we do? So this is telling me, roughly 2-1 with 600 square feet, you can get up to 705. This is what they're asking, right? Doesn't mean what it's actually going to rent for. So if you want more closer data, I go to the website Rentometer, spelled rentometer.com, and I can enter in an address in Shreveport. Let me just use this one I just used. Let me say, what does 2 bedrooms rent for in this area? And this is past things that actually rented. All right, you can get a couple free ones on here, but then you got to pay, I think, like 10 or 15 bucks in membership if you're going to use it a lot. But this is going to give you excellent data, rental data as well. And it looks back the last 12 months within, we can say a half mile of here, or maybe a third of a mile. Max price, I don't think anything's that we're comparing needs to be over $700 here. So let's just analyze. Okay, this is telling us around here within 12 months, a smart radius. You can see these properties here, right? It looks like we're within 600, 620 is the average of our rental income. Great. So what I want to do is that sort of fact check this. Okay, this is a little high, and we saw the conditions of those. We actually have some real data here. So I think we're going to get about 600 per 2 bedroom here, right? The fact that this is 1,000, there's probably some room to grow. So let's maybe just say 1,200 in rental income here, 1,200 in rental income there. Now that's when we sort of look into the rent to price ratio. Let's just create the formula here. Rent divided by list price. So here we go. It's 1%, but what I want to do is at least look at 2 decibels here. And you might hear this called the 1% rule. And what that's saying is, hey, if it's 1%, then typically in this town in Shreveport, that's the going rate. There's the 1% rule is like, basically, if it is 1%, it's easy to make money, but not every town has the 1% rule. I'm more interested in how does this property compare to this one? So your town might have the 0.5% rule. You might have a 0.5% rule, 0.5% rule, and then you've got one that's a 70, 0.75%, and then this one's 0.5%. And then I'm like excited about this one because one stands out, right? And so it's not so much whether it's 1% or 2%, it's how does it compare to the other ones? And we love this one, right? This one is 2%, but we know why, because that one needed a lot of work. It needed a bathroom. So these are the ones that I'm going to assume are all that seem to be in similar condition, and they're all sort of around the same price ratio. So that's great. Like the higher, the better here. So if I had to buy one today, I would buy this one because it's got the highest rent to price ratio. Or at least it would tell me, why don't I look deeper into this? Now, I could say, well, maybe this one is lower. Why is this one lower? Is this one lower because they're asking too much? Or is it because it's closer to the park and that's more desirable and I'm paying a premium for that? Or is it just mispriced? Or is this one so great because it's a distressed owner because it needs some renovation? I can start reading into these numbers. But if I find a property or a real estate agent or someone on Craigslist, I find a property that's 123 Main Street, and they say, hey, I've got an off-market property, Alan. It's $110,000. It's a duplex, and each side's a 2-1. I don't need to even ask any more questions. I'll be like, I'm not paying that. That's not what I buy. If it's within this neighborhood, right? Oh, you got one within this neighborhood, and it's hundreds of thousands of dollars? No, thanks. And they're like, well, what would you pay for that? Well, you already know, well, if it's 2 on each side, 1,200 is probably the going rate. You know that what they're asking just doesn't make sense because it's so low compared to these other things. So you can just say, well, you know what? I'd be interested if we can get the price around $95,000. You got tenants in place, because then, wow, you're doing better than most. And they're going to counter back and say, well, he really wants $100,000 for it. And you can say, okay, that's in line to what I'm seeing in the market. It's not a deal. It's average. And it's okay. It's okay to buy average deals because it's going to, house fire method. Let me buy a bunch of average deals, but at least you're recognizing what's an average deal, and then you can negotiate from there. And so then you can also go back to this one and say, wow, this one's $86,000, but the rent is holding this back. Do I have wrong rent things? Is this a mom and pop landlord? If so, that's why I can get it at a discount. But as soon as those leases are up, if I can bump this to $1,200, wow, I've really improved things, right? So you've got these levers now with this data in this back of the envelope house money maker, analyzer. You're just sizing up properties, and not only are you sizing up the properties, you're like, why is it priced this way? Oh, they've locked in low rents. Oh, I don't have to increase. I don't have to add equity. I don't have to renovate a kitchen to increase the rent. They're just not up to market. Well, yeah, I'll buy this for $86,000 all day, right? And $99,000. I know the benchmark, and I can go from there. And I have rent comps to fact check here. These are ones that they're asking, not rented for. And then I went to Rentometer, and this is also fact checking my rent. And so I'm looking at the condition of the property, the location. I know that all these are within the same location. So this is sort of giving me what a 2-bedroom, 1-bath is worth. And I can sort of zero in and say, wow, these are ones that I like. Now I want to go back to this one because this one's great. So that one's $60,000. So what should we look into that one? Because that seems like that's priced really well. And so this is what I do for this too. I have a cheat sheet. Again, quick and easy sizer. It's right here, the repair estimate cheat sheet. This works for most towns and maybe 10%, 15% higher or lower. All you got to do is call a couple contractors and fact check it, or you do your first deal. You're going to learn how accurate this is. But these are below 1,500 square feet, right? So I just need to look at this column. But if it was a bigger property, I'd look at this column and this column. So a light lift, what's the lift side? Light lifts is just paint, carpet, cosmetics. That's going to be $10,000 to renovate on average. Back of the envelope, that's all that we're doing. If it's medium, paint, carpet, kitchen, bath, this one is that, right? It's going to need definitely, one kitchen. It doesn't need to be full replacement of the baths. So it's $25,000 if I got to do full replacement of the paint, carpet, kitchen, baths. And this medium also includes the light up here, right? Or if it's heavy gut, I got to replace everything for this sort of square footage, it's $50,000. That's a full gut rehab, redoing everything, electric, plumbing, sheetrock. It's basically building it inside out. I think this one is it's not at max 25,000, but it's definitely more than 10,000. So I think I would say it's safe. It's somewhere in between here. Let's call it $17,500 in renovation, right? Using this cheat sheet, which I'll leave with you. But this is also what I use when I'm talking to someone on the phone and sight unseen, or there's no photos. Okay, you're offering me a house for $50,000. I know it's going to need some work, right? Just based on the price. And you're telling me let's say we got a fixer upper off market. I have no photos. You're offering me $50,000. Worst case scenario, I'm going to have to do $100,000 renovation, right? So, okay, if I can get this for under $50,000, I think it's going to be a win. Let's say, hey, I'll buy this cash. This is how you can start making this offer sight unseen once you get really comfortable. All right, I'll buy $40,000 sight unseen because I know for $50,000 I can replace everything. Hopefully I don't, but if I do, that's a $90,000 purchase. Everything's brand new. I can get $1,200 in rent, and that's going to be that's going to be pretty good. That's going to be better than my average rent to price ratio off the market. So I can look at it that way. So going back to this one, $16,000. Let's say I've got to end up being $78,000 once I do the renovation. This is my best one yet. So I would focus on this one. This one's getting me really excited based on doing these comps, finding the rental comps, using my repair cheat sheet to come up with pricing. And then I can start looking a little bit deeper. But this is the method that I go about to really figure out where I want to spend more time on. I can kind of eliminate this one, right? It's overpriced compared to the other ones if I'm only to buy one house or one duplex. But if this one gets me the most excited, and then maybe this one, if I can bump the rents, I don't have to do any work and bump the rents. And so I'm narrowing it down, but I never would have gotten to this point if I added single families and a duplex, and I did a duplex across the river. I would never have been able to get to this point or build this confidence and have this database of becoming an expert in a product type in a small geographic area. I already know what the average is. The average is around 1.19. So anything above that, I'm excited about. Anything below that, I'm either going to have to, lower the price. For me to be excited about this one that I'm eliminated, I can maybe call the agent up and say, hey, I know you've been on the market for a while. Let's see, Wilkinson. What's the deal here? Oh, this is one that was fully renovated. Okay, so that's why it's not priced right? I thought it was overpriced, but no, this is a higher renovation than all the other properties we looked at. So that makes sense. I'm paying a premium because someone else has already renovated it. So for this to make sense at $99,000, I can come back here and be like, you know what? I bet because it's in a higher condition, maybe I can get $1,350 out of this, right? It's going to be a nice 2-bedroom compared to some of the other ones. So that makes sense why it's priced this way. And so I can start playing with these levers to say, okay, why is this jumping out at me? Let me do a little bit more due diligence, and I dig in and I go from there. So that's it. That it's really that simple. That's how I sort of focus really quickly. I don't want to get in the weeds yet. I'm just sort of finding areas I'm learning. I'm understanding what someone would rent for and what I have to pay to get that rent. That's what I want you to concentrate right now and really sort of understand, wow, this part of town gets this, that part of town gets that. Why? Is it appreciation play? Is it mispriced? Is it more renovated than the other ones? You're going to start learning and figuring these things out quickly the more you do this. But you really got to stay within those parameters. So once you've done this to those 3 areas I had you pick, right? One you've probably already eliminated. Now you do this between 2 areas. They might be exactly the same, but chances are one's different than the other. And then you can start focusing and saying, oh, okay, of these 2 areas, I'm going to start focusing here. Maybe because there's more data points or more properties for sale, or that you sort of just like the numbers more. This sort of exercise in these different towns and neighborhoods and sections of towns will really sort of help build your confidence and know what you're talking about before you go talk to a real estate agent or call a property manager. You're sort of already understanding what product is, what it looks like, and what it's going to go for. So let's talk about your new homework now. Your new homework goal is narrow down to your own area, to one area that you want to own. And this is own in, but own as your expertise. Because it's easier to become an expert if you do it this way, right? I'm an expert now in duplexes that are 2-1s on each side. But if you start talking to me about duplexes that are 1-1, I'm going to have to do a little bit more homework, So this is great. Or if you sort of call me and say, I've got a house that's used to be a duplex that's 4-2 now, I can start doing the math. Okay, if I convert this back to a 2-1, I sort of know the numbers here. So it's easier to become an expert in your own area. It's also easier to finance and sell if they're all within an area, because if you want to buy multiple properties, you can go one property at a time, get one mortgage, one property at a time, and get one mortgage. But if you wanted to get a commercial loan, they will all loan as long as it's within the same area. That bank services all those homes, or all in the same zip code. It's much more difficult to buy a portfolio or something where they're spread out across different areas. It's just, you're not going to be an expert. You're going to have different property managers. You're going to have different teams. It's just, you don't want to diversify at this stage. You want to be an expert at something so that, if you have a high-end property and a low-end property, you're going to have 2 different contractors, one that knows LVL flooring, one that knows wood flooring. You're going to have to know one that can handle Section 8 property manager and one that can, the whims of a luxury renter. So it's just easier to build your team, finance and sell, and become an expert when it's down to one area and one product type. So that's the duplex, or just 3 bedrooms that are single families, just 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. Just look at that, because it's easier to become an expert, easier to finance and sell, and easier to build a team. So this is your homework. Narrow it down, understanding what your product that you want and the area that you want. So there you go. Narrow the scope, narrow the product type. That's your homework. And then you're going to just feel like you know so much about this area. I started by learning everything on my block, and then learning everything on my street, and then learning everything in my neighborhood, and then learning everything in my zip code. And then it became my city, and then it became my state. So start small, really become an expert, own it, because you're going to recognize what makes a good deal. And then you're also going to know what to offer to make it a good deal if it's not. Lastly, you're going to also recognize the outliers like we did. Oh, that one, it's renovated. We're paying a premium because it's in perfect condition. Or, you can look for opportunities. Or maybe I could juice the rent here to make it a huge winner. So there you go. That's how I do it. That's how I size it up. Really quick and easy. Let's get excited. And then when we come back, we're going to dig a little bit deeper, do the real deal sizer, learn how to make an offer. We're getting closer to you becoming the best real estate investor you can be. You got the footprint here. So let's keep going. And again, I did mean that. You are my favorite student.